You don't have to burn out to break through. In real estate and entrepreneurship, hustle is still glorified. Building 100 houses a year, doing six-figure launches, having 80-hour work week. But what if that model is broken? What if the real flex isn't scale? It's sustainability. Today's guest, Mike Secord, is a real estate leadership coach with nearly 3 decades of experience and a message that challenges everything the industry tells you about success. His belief? You don't have to choose between growth and well-being. In this conversation, we are going to unpack the moment he walked away from a top role to start over. We're going to learn his success equation, which he built in the dark, and he's going to talk about why burnout isn't caused by overwork, it's caused by misalignment. For those of you that are new here, my name is Lynea Carver. I help high-achieving leaders and entrepreneurs build lives of real impact without losing themselves in the process. And if that's your mission too, I'm glad you're here. So make sure to subscribe, ding that notification bell so you can stay in the know for every new piece of content. Now, let's dive into one of the most honest and liberating conversations I have had all year long.
But I had to go inward to go outward. I had to get smaller to get bigger. It has a consistency or time management problem the way they think. What they have is they have a choice problem. They do everything that you're doing, except they do one more thing. You're at like 12. How do we help you get to 24 or 36? If it stays in your head, it's a dream. If it gets out of your head, it becomes an action. Or some things you're like, why am I thinking so small?
So I'm super excited today. We have Mike Secord. He's a real estate leadership coach, trainer, and speaker with over 28 years of industry experience. He helps real estate agents, brokers, and team leaders do something super close to my heart, which is scale their business without burning out. He uses a blend of mindset mastery, proven systems, and high performance habit. And Mike has this really big, fascinating idea, which is part of the reason we connected, is that he believes that you don't have to choose between growth and well-being. His entire philosophy centers on the belief that sustainable success comes from integrating high performance habits with personal alignment. And his message that we're going to talk about today is really about challenging the toxic hustle culture that the real estate industry has. And it's really rampant in other industries as well, but more specifically in the real estate industry. So I'm super excited to have Mike here today.
I'm excited too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It was cool how we met, right? We met kind of just randomly on Instagram, and it wasn't even you and me talking. It was our assistants talking.
It was perfect.
So it's like when you know that you have a good team, because your team like finds other people that are kind of like, oh, they have a very similar message. How can they connect? I love that.
I share this all the time with people because when they hear that idea, they're like, oh, I want to do that too. And it's like, what they don't understand is my assistant is following what I did.
Yeah.
I had a system and a tool, and she goes in and plugs into the system. She obviously has improved it because I did it and she made it a lot better, but they follow what you do. So get out there and get in the grind and do it and then leverage it.
We can just go right into it because you said something just now that I think is really, really common. I see it in entrepreneurs a lot. Real estate agents all the time is the no one can do it better than me attitude, right? You just said something that was like, well, she made it better, right? So like you had this great system that was working, and like I hear that all the time.
Everyone's different. Everyone that's hearing this, you're going to look and do. Let's be honest here. If you're seeing this, I'm not great looking. You got to look in the mirror as a leader and look at yourself and go, hey, you know what? I did enough to get me here, and I did all the stuff. If I just do what I'm really good at and I give up some of the other stuff, how much better I can be and where we can go and how much more I can learn and get. We're just starting. So I think you just have to get over yourself. And, Dan Martell says it in his book, Buy Back Your Time. And it's such a great quote. He said, 80% done by someone else is 100% freaking awesome. And I love that quote. It's like, it's so true. By someone else doing it and getting out there and getting it just makes it so much better for you.
And I agree also, like there's a really good book I love. I don't know if you read it. It's by Marshall Goldsmith and it's called What Got You Here Won't Get You There.
You've mentioned it before. I haven't read it yet,
and
but it's on my list.
It's a fantastic book, and it talks about like what Dan Martell says in his book too, Buy Back Your Time. But it just talks about like you got here based off of your skill set, and your skill set alone is going to keep you here. So now it's like the skill set to adopt if you want to scale, and I'm sure we can go into this more, but the skill set you want to adopt if you want to scale is like being a better leader.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, like just being a better leader. Like how can you help other people rise and elevate? So like, I want to know more about you. I got to talk to you, but tell the audience a little bit more about you. You've been in the industry for a really long time. You have a cool story about why you got into this side of the business. I'd love to share.
I've been in the real estate arena industry for about 28 years. Started off like everyone, you get in and you start off, it's kind of like the land of misfit toys. You're doing something not really happy or satisfied in. You're like, well, I can go start in real estate and I can find my path. That seems like a good thing. So I get into it. I sell real estate. I'm moving along. I have what I call my breakdown led to my breakthrough. And I start growing myself and getting further along. And then about 5 years into the business, selling a decent amount, building it, starting a family the way I wanted to, I moved into leadership roles because I knew that was my next step of where I wanted to go and what I needed to do to develop me and then to move ultimately to where it was I wanted to be. So I ran some Sector 21 offices, was a team leader in a couple of Keller Williams offices, moved into an expansion director role with one of the nation's largest teams, started a small startup brokerage at one time. And all along, I just kind of had this path where I was doing, having, and hoping to be. When April 12th, 2019 was really my day that I realized, hey, I got to make a change. And that's where I stood up in a meeting. I left what I was doing and I started a coaching company because I wanted to go be who I wanted to be, do what I wanted to do, and then have where I wanted to be at. I wanted to get the mask off me and go off and just kind of be myself and go impact people. And that's what I've been doing now since 2019 is in the coaching arena and developing leaders, developing agents, and really helping people build a business that funds their perfect life and really getting out of the grind, the rat race that we've been talking about, and really getting into how do I build a business that funds my perfect life and how do I develop myself daily into the person that can keep growing.
I love that. So walk me through, I mean, we've kind of shared a very similar story, which I love. So, but walk me through what that looked like for you. Like you had this breakdown moment. Like for some people, I think like my breakdown moment was very came home one day, my husband and I had this conversation and I had to make a change, right? I'd love to know more about kind of that breakdown moment. And then what was the steps that you took to rebuild to the life that you want to have?
Okay. To be 100% transparent here, I've had many breakdown moments.
We usually do. Yeah.
They've all been defining in where I've gone and where I'm at. But the breakdown moments really were for me. I was chasing, trying to do and trying to be and get the success with ignoring one simple process. And that was I never really took care of myself. I wasn't happy. I wasn't getting there. I thought once I have this, I'll be happy. And I was running this race of trying to get into success. And everyone around me was looking at my success and going, here's where you're at. Here's what you've got. He's killing it. He's doing great. He's got this beautiful house, everything. And all along, I'm like, I'm not there because I felt like any second it was going to fall down. And I was afraid that if I shared what I was actually thinking, then the people closest to me would think that they weren't good enough or I wasn't happy in that. When it really was, I didn't know what I didn't know. I had this, at the April 12th day that I think I shared it with you, I had this drunk monkey on my shoulder that basically just said, you know what, Mike, you're the reason for all your success and you are the reason for all of your failures. Fix it. And I just made a commitment to myself that I was going to fix it. And I went dark for about 2 years. When I say dark, I didn't go into the dark side or anything like that. I just got off the mainstream. I got away from everything. I was building a coaching business silently. I was talking to people one-on-one. I wasn't out in front of stuff. And then I re-engaged myself into things a couple years later at a much bigger scale. And it's been growing ever since. But I had to go inward to go outward. I had to get smaller to get bigger.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people miss. And I think you said a couple of things that are really, I think, impactful in a big sense, right? I like to look at, especially in the real estate space, who do we reward? We reward the people who are your top producers. They're selling 100 homes a year. They're selling the most volume or the most transactions. And so those are the people that because my story is very similar, as you know, my year was 2021 and it was like, oh my God, she's so successful. And I'm like I have nothing to show for it. I have no happiness, no freedom to show for it, So you said something that was really important. I think people should really hear that. So if you need to rewind this and go back and listen to what Mike just said, it was, people looked at his nice house and all of these things and considered that the success. And so, that's not always the case. you know, and it's like, until we look inside and we realize, like, what is the actual, what's our purpose? What's your heart telling you need to be doing right now?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be like that forever. And I think a lot of people kind of live in that burnout space. I call it's a burnout space. I mean, you're going to burn out on
It
life,
is.
not just in business. You're going to burn out on life. So I think a lot
Yeah.
of people live there. So like,
Yeah.
how did you go dark? How did you slow down? You know, I mean, yeah, how did you do that? And then where did you start on like that internal process?
Took one step at a time. And, it's kind of like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Just slow down and get back into that and just take that one step. And what I realized was what was burning me out or what was wearing me down or that weight I was carrying is like, we're throwing rocks into a backpack everywhere we go and it just gets heavy. And I was the only one carrying it, and I was carrying it I didn't know why. And for me, it was just be authentic. How can I get in and actually lead myself? How do I be authentic? How do I share? How do I let me out? Really, how do you love yourself, kind of thing? Is really what it boiled down to me for me. So I just took one step at a time. And what I realized is on that day, I kind of created what I called my success equation. And I still use it today on everything I do. And it's mindset times action plus accountability equals success. And what I saw in my career and in where I was going was I had lots of action. I had lots of accountability, lots of coaches and lots of things, but I never let down the guard. I never took the mask off. I never showed anyone really what was going on in my mindset. And now I know that that's where everything starts. I realize it's not an event. It's a journey. And every day I have to do something that kind of keeps prepping my mindset, keeps me going and gets me into the right actions and then into the right accountability for where it is I want to go. So that was kind of my main focus. And some days you move 2 or 3 steps forward. Some days was a step. And for me, I like to gamify everything. So I just treated it like a habit tracker of looking at going, how many wins do I have and how many losses? I just needed one more win than losses and I'm there. And then, and I use that kind of strategy in my whole career different ways of going, if I bat, if you bat 300, you're in the Hall of Fame. That means you're basically striking out 7 times out of 10. So I was like, well, like give yourself some grace. You don't need to be 100%.
Yeah.
You just need to be better than you currently are. And that was the progress that I was kept moving. It was just keep focusing on progress, focus on the result, focus on the progress, and get yourself into that kind of path. So that was kind of my main journey. And I apply it in everything I do. It's like when I talk with my assistant, we're looking at things. What's our progress? I want to look at progress. I want to look at where we're going and just keep focusing on the right type of movement. And if you're moving, your things are going to get there.
Yeah. I totally agree. And every time I have a coaching call, we always start our clients with, let's talk about your wins, celebrate your wins.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard sometimes. You find this, that it's really hard sometimes because they're super high achievers, right? They're really high achievers. And being a high achiever is a good thing, but it's also what causes most high achievers are facing burnout on a big, big, big level. Because they only want to focus on, I got a listing agreement signed, I got a deal in contract, I had another closing, or they want to focus on the result, right? Rather than focusing on like what they do to get there. Do you find that same thing in your clients?
Yeah, it definitely is because, most entrepreneurs, most of us in real estate, we're driven. We're high D's, high I's, and we're looking at the end. We're not looking at what we're doing day to day. We're looking at the end. Well, I'm not there yet. I don't have that win to say. Well, it's like, but you do have some wins. And sometimes you just have to slow down. And that's my job as a coach, is just really get them to see the things that they're not seeing and help build the confidence in them. And they're going, okay, now you're there. Now that you've got that, what's possible now? Because whenever you're on a journey, whenever you start something, you only see what you see. But as you go further down the journey, you see a whole lot more. And that's what I want to get them to experience. And same with you. It's like, we need to slow them down.
How do you get someone to slow down? Like, you're working with a bunch of high D's, right? High D's, high I's, like blah, 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 all the time. Shiny object to shiny object to shiny object. Like, what techniques do you use to get someone to kind of slow down?
Basically, what you do is you don't have to go on the crazy rat race journey that they're on. Just because they're going, like, just get a pattern interrupt, just stop them. Just, hey, I hear you, but this is what we're here for. Your high D that you're talking to, that you actually stop and get moving over, they actually want you to do that. They're thankful you do that. You've got to interrupt them and go on, because they don't realize what they're doing. And if they continue to do what they're doing, they're not going to get where it is they want to go. So,
right.
So you just stop them.
Just stop. I mean, it's true. Like
But
a high D is a very decisive, like, let's just do the results oriented person, right? So I
yeah.
think a lot of times people, when you are a high D, because I mean, I am a high D,
Hmm.
very high DI. And I think that when you are a high D or high I, like the value of having someone like you to come in and say stop is like, I don't think people understand how much value that actually has, because
Hmm.
someone like me can go on and on and on and on
Yeah.
forever until
Yeah.
someone comes in and says stop.
And and you can use this when you're sitting at a table working with a client who's a high D, a seller, a buyer.
Mhm.
They're not used to people stopping them.
Yeah.
They're not used to people questioning them. They're not used to people giving their opinions or saying things. They're used to just controlling. So they're conditioned to keep controlling and doing that way. They don't even know they're doing it. And when you get them a little pattern interrupt and stop them, they're actually thankful because they don't realize they're going down this and they're looking at the world with their blinders on. And when you can give them another brain, another vision, another way of seeing things, now they just multiply themselves.
Yeah.
So even though it's a little uncomfortable, it's actually growth and it's good for them.
It's true. And I mean, the thing about, like, especially with like the real estate space, people are usually very growth oriented in this industry, and even
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs in general, like very growth oriented. And so we just kind of get stuck in that daily pattern, like of just kind of being right here all the time, because you don't have someone external to come and like help you push through that. So
Exactly.
yeah, I like
Exactly.
that. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but why do you think in everything that we know, especially with like the anti-burnout, the more like life fulfilling space is starting to grow, like the message is really starting to grow a lot. And I don't know if it's just because that's what I talk about, so I see it all the time. Who knows? We are seeing a lot of that, right? We're seeing a lot of like the don't burn out, scale without burnout, like all of the catchphrases. But it still feels like in real estate specifically that we still glorify the hustlers. We still glorify the people who are selling 100 homes a year as a solo agent, or the big mega teams. Why do you think that is?
I'm going to answer a couple of things you said in there. Why I really think that is, I mean, just look all around us. It's everything we do. Everything is, sensationalized. It's all big. It's, fancy, and it's shiny this, shiny that. And really what it boils down to is a lot of people want to do what they're doing, but they're never asking, what did they do to get there? Like I say all the time is we got a lot of people that want to go out and do, but we don't have a lot of people that want to go out and did.
I like that.
I call it the secret sauce question that I would get so much. Every time I would be at an event or people would ask, like, whether we're talking about my agents or where we were at, like, what is it that you're doing to be where you're at? They all want to know the secret. And I always would say, like, okay, here it is. You want to get a pen and paper and you're going to want to write this down because this is really big. And I lean into them and I go, okay, this is what they do. They do everything that you're doing, except they do one more thing. They do just a little bit more and they do it consistently. It really go down like we're sensationalizing everything going on. But what I have found is burnout really, it comes from losing sight of your vision. And that's what had happened with me is I lost sight with what I was doing. I kept chasing something, hoping to receive something instead of actually focusing on what it was I wanted to receive. So if you can go in and really start figuring out what it is you want. And that's where I talk with my client, like, how do we help you build the business that funds your perfect life? So we start with your perfect life first. What is it? What's your B statement? Where you want to, and so that to me is we're doing things so wrong is we think that we can go off and do, and we sensationalize, we're like, oh, look at how big and things that people are, but they don't realize when you take them through the math of you don't need to sell 100 homes to have a really good life. If you're right now and you're at like 12, how do we help you get to 24 or 36? And then when you get to 24 or 36, how do we help you get to 48 or 72? And before you know it, you're at 100 transactions, but you've got the foundation. I look at like we're all trying to build this penthouse, beautiful penthouse on top of this, on the 100th floor of this place. It's a beautiful big thing. And then what it is, we just go up there and we've got it. We write the check, we get up there, we pay for the leads, we're there. And then a storm comes through, high interest rates, COVID, something happens that's out of our control, storm, and it tears that penthouse down. That whole building comes down to the ground because it didn't have a solid foundation. And then they're like, oh, the market's bad. I can't get in. there's all these blame things, these external issues instead of what the internal was. If I build the foundation, I can weather storms. And sometimes, when it's storming, you've got to button down the hatches. You got to put some stuff away. You lose, some things get a little damaged, but it comes out safe. And I think that's where we're starting to see, like, if you look at people that are here right now, they've been through some storms.
Yeah.
And they've survived it, and they're continue to grow, and they know what to do. And some right now are going through storms for the last 5 or 6 years, and they're not surviving because they don't have the foundation. So that's what I focus on, and it's what I've focused on with myself.
Like I'm hearing it, I'm like, absolutely, because I 100%. We've talked about that. That's exactly what it's all about. I like to remind people when they get into the business, it's like, you don't get into the business. Usually you don't get in the business just because you want to make a lot of money. Like I don't actually usually hear that when I ask people, why did you get into being an entrepreneur? It's not usually because I want to make a lot of money. Like that's a byproduct of it if you do it right. But it's usually because of some level of freedom. They're searching for some level of freedom, whether it be time freedom, location freedom, schedule freedom, whatever it is, some level of freedom. But then get into it, and then that kind of freedom goes away. So what do you think is like the biggest reason, besides, like, we obviously understand that, you got to really understand that vision, but let's pretend someone's totally in tune with their vision. They get it, right? What do you think stops them from being able to scale at the level they want to scale at?
There's many, many reasons, but I think if we go right into this whole little freedom aspect is, what I have found is I've had so many people tell me, I want some freedom, I want flexibility, I want all these things. And you're like you don't get it. You don't get freedom in the ways that they're kind of thinking. I want to know a little bit more, what does freedom mean to them? And define that, because what I have found is mostly the freedom you get is the freedom that you don't have someone's thumb on your forehead and you can make the choices that you want to make. But you don't have freedom like, I just sit around and do nothing. I can take time off and do. You're constantly moving into it. And I always like real estate sales is a vehicle that leads so many places. It's just, where do you want it to go? Where do you want it to lead to? Do you want to stay in the vehicle of real estate sales? If you want to stay in the vehicle of real estate sales, then you need to define your business around how that needs to look for the freedom you want it to be. If you want it to lead to this or to that or whatever, and the reason I say it's a vehicle is, look at Disney. It started with a mouse. That was the vehicle that started the mega empire that Disney is today. So what is, they're coming into this and they want freedom. What is that freedom they want? Define it to me. Don't base my definition of freedom into it. I want to know what your definition of freedom is, because every word has different definitions, really.
Subjective.
It's perspective.
Every word is subjective and perspective.
So what is their perspective? And if a mentor of mine, Bob McKinnon, says this all the time, he's like, you need to be looking for people that have charged batteries. If you're looking for people and you want to give them energy to charge their battery, you're going to fail in this business. But if you're looking for people that are charged, and all you got to do is give them the right app or the tool or something to go with that battery, now they've got a great performing phone. But if they're not charged, you can't charge them. I want to know, what do you want, where you're at, and how do we move this down? And sometimes we're making more of it than it needs to be. And that's that simple but not easy.
For those of you that are watching and you want to know how to burnout proof your life, make sure to download my burnout proof audit. In this burnout proof audit, I'm going to take you through 10 questions to help you map out your custom plan to a burnout proof life. To get the audit, just click the link in the description below. Make sure to come back and let me know your results. Let's talk about high performance habits for a second, because I love high performance habits. They are the thing. So what do you think are some of the biggest, and actually I'd like to know in like a form of an example, like tell me about a client that you've had that maybe like you kind of did this whole process with them and they instilled the right systems, they instilled the right habits, and they were able to achieve the goals that they wanted to achieve without all of that burnout and overwhelming sensation that we've been talking about.
So many that have gone and done different things. I think we might have shared this with you when we talked in the past. Is one of my clients that I've worked with and I still work with today. What I loved is on this journey where we're at, like we started off with, this is where it is we wanted to go. And through that process, he's on a completely different trajectory that he didn't even see at the time when we started, because he went in and he did what was necessary to get moving and to have success. Then he had a little bit of things happen, and then he got back into success. Then he moved to a completely different marketplace and built that up pretty quickly, and then realized, hey, you know what? I'm meant to do this. So, he's opened his own brokerage now. He's got 5 agents. He's meeting with someone that's a $35 million producer to join the team. This wasn't there at the beginning. And what he mapped out and what he thought is not this. And I don't think he would have got there doing what he was doing. I'm not the reason he got there, but I think we are the reason he got there.
Yeah, partnership for sure. So do you think that part of like when you start to work with a high achiever, do you think that a high achiever, first of all, identifies as a high achiever or a high performer before they start working with you? Or do you think that you help them self-identify as that?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think they've had success. I'm looking for that kind of thing of where the pattern in their life of performing, what struggles have they had to overcome and do that. So there's some of that. What I have found is some high performers, they don't feel it now. And when you take them back to their former self or show them what they've overcome, and you show that, hey, if we apply those strategies to this, it reignites something in them that they didn't know was there. And when it reignites it, it's a bigger flame than it ever was.
100%.
And it's just realizing that, hey, sometimes you may be in a season right now where you've lost and things aren't that great, but that doesn't mean you're not a high performer.
Do you think there's a difference between high achiever and high performer?
The answer is the difference would be that sometimes you achieve things, but you don't feel like you're performing. You don't feel like this. People, sometimes you're creating a wake behind you that people can't ski. There's things that go on to when you can get to the balance of what your performance and your achieving is going on, it gets bigger into that range. So I believe they have to come together, but there are little sprints, like look at the tortoise and the hare story.
Okay.
The tortoise was the achiever. The hare was the performer. He was high performance. Boom, running sprints, going and going and going really fast, but not there. And I believe that working with people is get them to blend. And when you can condition them to go from running, sprints into running marathons, because we're building the muscle memory, we're building the consistency, we're building the habit, reprogramming you, to where you want to be, because lots of times people have it, they just can't do it consistently because there's all this other stuff happening around them. Yeah. So I guess the long-winded answer is, I believe they're different. I believe you can run with them. And I think sometimes they show false sense and you think you're there. Or sometimes it falls apart and you're like, well, I don't have this, then I can't make this work. And it's like, oh, it's because you don't have the performance part to it, or you have the performance part, but you don't have the achievement part. You don't know why you want to do it. There's always something out of balance.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's a difference between high achiever and high performer, but I also think that there's a good marriage between the two of them if they can figure it out. And I also tend to feel like, and I don't know if this is for you, so let me know, but I tend to feel like the high performers don't necessarily recognize that they're a high performer. Like they're more easy to identify with being a high achiever. Like I have big goals, I'm going to get my goals. But they don't necessarily tend to recognize, oh, I'm actually a high performer as well, or what that actually means.
What I have from going around and being in rooms with other people and masterminds and talking to people and having people come in and shadow and all that stuff is most high performers, they couldn't tell you what they do because it's just a habit. It's what they like. You go to a guy that's at the gym that's doing really well and very fit. Like you ask him, like, what's your workout schedule? He couldn't really tell you how he got there. He's like, I don't know. I just go to the gym. I do this. Like, this is who I am. It becomes who you are, where when you're moving into it, you're actually building it so you know what you're doing. That's what I found is like achievers are usually high performers because they don't really know what they're doing to perform. They think everybody does this. Isn't this what we do? No, it's not. We do this. I was like, well, how do you do that? Doesn't that drive you crazy? No, it doesn't. They don't get it.
The gym example is really funny because I've been going to the gym for 25 years. And so like when people ask me or come up to me and be like, oh, you look, like people will actually say, you look really strong, or, oh my gosh, you look like you've been fit. Like you're really fit. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, how did you do it? And I'm like, just consistency, like just get up and go to the gym. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's part of who I am. So it's really funny that you use that example.
Yeah, I work out.
I work out.
Like, yeah. What do you do? Nothing. See, that's what boom, that's where we're at.
You do. You sit at home and you watch TV in the morning versus get up and go to the
Yeah.
gym.
And that leads me into like, I get asked so much, and I'm sure you do too. Like, people are looking for, I need a time management. I have a time management problem, or I don't have a calendar. They're always, I'm like, you don't have a time management problem. I don't believe anybody has a consistency or time management problem the way they think. What they have is a choice problem.
Yep. 100%.
Like, you're consistently hitting the snooze button 7 times on the not getting up, or you're consistently getting up and moving. It's like, it's a consistency. It's a choice you're making. So let's work on your choices. You choose to go to the gym, and the person who wants to be strong and wants to know what you're doing is choosing not to go to the gym.
Or like in business, same thing. It's like appointments on your calendar. You have no listing appointments, you have no clients, but you're choosing every day to come in and scroll social media, or you're choosing to come in and do something that is not what you actually plan to do during that time. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I totally agree with you on that.
One of the things I've learned for me personally is I believe there's no wrong way as long as you keep moving. If you're in the car and you're like, I went down the wrong way, and you're like, oh, I'm stuck here and I can't, that's it. But if you go down the wrong way and your car keeps moving, you turn around, you go, it just took you longer to get there. It wasn't a wrong way because you kept moving. So keep moving and keep learning from things and keep going through. And there's not one way. It's not one way to do it.
Right. That's why there's Google Maps always gives you 4 different ways to get somewhere. It's not usually just one way.
Yeah. And in the business, there's not one way. This is a relationship building business, and there are many, many different ways to build relationships. And every day there's new tools, new technology, new things to build more relationships. So there's not one way to do this business. I think if anybody walks out of here, like, stop asking people, what are they doing that's made them successful? When you get to things, go up there and ask, what did you do? What did you do? How did you get here? Learn the things that they did. Don't learn the things that they're doing.
And I think that's a really key separation between building versus doing, or have built versus doing, if you will. I think that's really a key separation that people don't pay attention to enough. Like, what did you do versus what is working for you, right? Mm-hmm. So what's working for you right now is going to be different. And the other thing is, a lot of people, if they're at a certain point in their business, most of the time, because on this show, I interview a lot of people, a lot of real estate agents who are in the top 1%, a lot of people who are high achievers, high performers, and the one thing I find in common is that what they all did was focus on one thing. They all focused on one thing, and what they're all doing is focusing on one thing, but they might be trying to find which thing that is to focus on.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think a lot of the times when people can't really get to the point where they want to get to, it's because there's too much. They're doing
too much out there.
Too much.
I was at an event last week, and one of the speakers, one of the quotes they said from stage that was so powerful was, he's like, no one has ever gotten wealthy with multiple revenue streams. Once they're wealthy, they've created multiple revenue streams to build more wealth. But what's your one thing? And that's sort of what is your one thing? Go do it. Go build it. Get up there, get going. Don't give 30% here, 30% here, 30% here, because really what you're going to end up with is 30% results.
Well, and then back to your one thing, right? Your one thing, then how does that align with your life, right? How's the one thing that you're doing really align with your life? Have you read the book Scaling Up by Dr. Benjamin Hardy?
I have not, and that's on my list right now.
Such a great book. I read it maybe pre-release, so I don't know if it's available. I'll see if I can find it and send it to you if you can't find it. But in the book, he talks about how people, he uses examples of Elon Musk, he uses Mr. Beast on YouTube. He uses these examples of people who said, I have a big, goes right in line with what they're talking about. I have a big purpose. I have a big vision. Mm-hmm. And in order for me to get to that vision, I know that I have to do this. This needs to happen in order for me to achieve that vision. So in order for this to happen, this has to happen. So in order for this has to happen, I have to do this, right? So they it talks about in that book about how to if you have this big vision you want to accomplish, you don't do it a million different ways. Even though there's a million different ways you can run a business, there's a ton of ways. But the thing is that people, you can't do all of them. Have you ever been in a time in your business where you were trying to do all of the things?
Many times. There's many times you get shiny object syndrome. You get this, you get on. And that's why it's it's been so important for me along my journey is to have people to share and to bounce things off with. You know, I've had many bad ideas. A good example is with my assistant. One of the things that we have is what I call a brain dump session that we do. And I just share some notes. I have a little thing that I throw at her and I'm like, you have the ability to go, this sounds good, or this is crazy, or this, like I just need an avenue to get it out. And some things you get out and you say it, you like, oh, that did sound kind of crazy when I said it. Or some things you're like, why am I thinking so small? So
Yes.
don't stop the idea flow,
Yeah.
but look at going, where do I put these ideas and how do I move with them, or what's going on? Does it really help me get to the next pillar post that I want to go to? There's lots of things I have on my list that I'm like, I'm going to get to that when we get here, but we're not doing that now, but I have them somewhere. So don't shut down your ideas. Don't get out completely of this is interesting or there, because I think it's important for us. We just have to have a vehicle that goes through, and I have to have someone to bounce these ideas off. My coach, my mentors, my assistant. Who are you sitting down and sharing this stuff with? Because if it's all right here, I'm going to tell you what happened to me over years. If I keep it here, it's a mess.
One year I was actually trying to map out my brain. I had so much stuff in my brain. I was like, I wrote flowcharts in my corporate life. I wrote flowcharts. And so like I was trying to put up my brain into a flowchart and I did it. But when I looked at it afterward, I was like, holy cow. There's literally no way any of this is ever going to happen. Nothing, none of it. And if I were to go back and look at that map, I wonder how many of those things actually did happen. I don't know. That's what happens. Like for me, I have a visual of what it looks like if it's just stuck up here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if it stays in your head, it's a dream. If it gets out of your head, it becomes an action. It's something you can go off and do, and you've got to put it somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. I have this system that I incorporated in my business that was really cool. And so every time I would have a shiny object, and this is kind of my growth pattern, it's every time I would see a shiny object, I would have to go into because I use Notion as my business backend planner. So I'd go into my Notion board and it was literally my wish list is what I call it. And I put it on the wish list. And so if it was like a course I wanted to purchase or like a coach that I wanted to follow or like something I wanted to do for content or a funnel or whatever it was, I'd put it on the wish list. And I'd put a due date and I would say 2 days, 48 hours. I'd give myself 48 hours. And if I didn't go back to it in 48 hours, it went off the wish list. And that was like a game changer for me. I'm like,
That's
okay,
awesome.
I actually saved a lot of money that way too, because it was like, because we can spend a lot of money. It's really easy to spend money in this industry.
Yeah.
And so that was my thing, like, to make more profit. Like I got to think about what I'm spending. So I just I'd write it down and it'd get out of my brain. So it's that like immediate sort of like, it's not sitting up here anymore. It's out, it's there. And then I can go back and look at it later. And then I would go back, and if it had expired, okay, cool, I'll evaluate it again. And sometimes I would change the date to another 48 hours, but most of the time I would just delete. And so the wish list really dwindled down to 2 things. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And just find your way, whether it's using something like, that you share with Notion or just a journal you write in and then reflect and go back to it and look, do something that you get those thoughts down and then you revisit it and you can move it forward. You can do whatever you need to do with it. But you're basically what you did is, do I got an ROI on this thought?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Or is it just, did it open up space in my brain by getting it out for me to do other thinking?
Yeah.
Either way, it's good.
Yeah, I love it. Have you read the book, The Road Less Stupid?
Man, you're hitting me up with, no, I have not.
I read. I am a reader. If you ever want book recommendations, I have a whole list of book recommendations. But yeah. So The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. Okay. Basically, the whole concept of the book is about thinking time. And he talks about how as business owners, we pay a dumb tax all the time. And the dumb tax is usually in time. It's usually in wasted energy, wasted resources, obviously wasted money. But he talks about how it's really easy to avoid the dumb tax by having what he calls thinking time. So he shares this whole method of thinking time. And it's such a good book. And it's such really good, super powerful things and questions to ask yourself in your business. It was a really good book. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I have every day I go on a 4-mile walk with my dog in our neighborhood, and part of my walk is I it's a mindset walk for me. So I have some videos and some things I listen to. Sometimes I listen to audiobooks and different, but I always have a portion of the walk that is silent.
I love
And it's huge. And I have a client he does this walk around Lake Geneva, and it's a 21-mile walk that he does. And he goes in it with 4 questions, and he comes out, and there are growth times. And he does it at least once a year, but sometimes he's doing it quarterly, depending on where he's at and where he's at. But you need that think time. You need that connect with things, and you need to get that thought out of your head. It's not easy to do because we're so busy and you're running and you feel like you're wasting time doing that at first, but
Yeah.
you multiply yourself. That's the freedom that I love to see people get at, is have the ability to build a business that you can actually do more of yourself with.
Yeah, that's what I look at. One of my things was, I like to go hiking because I'm in Seattle. We have some of the best mountains in the country here. It's like, why would I not be outdoors as much as possible? And so one of my definitions of freedom is being able to get out in the middle of the week and go for a hike by myself. And that happened a couple weeks ago, and it was like total silence. And like I get to this mountain that paragliders come off of, and it's kind of like 2 peaks. And the first peak that I got to, there was literally nobody there. It was amazing. It was just silence on a mountain. And I was like, God, this is amazing. Just amazing, right? And that could never have happened if I had stuck up in here all the time, always trying to get to the next goal, always just trying to like go without actually like having that to drive me.
It is. And I'll share a little story that, since we're talking about freedom here and doing that, having a business that you control your schedule and be able to do the things you want to do, and not be beckoned to someone, is such a liberating way to be. Like a month ago, my son, he had his hamster passed away. Now, when I say hamster, like, I know they have short lifespans, but he was like a hamster whisperer. Like, he put the hamsters on his shoulder all the time. He was sad. He was very upset. And I was able to cancel my schedule for the day and just spend time with him. I know in my previous world, like, I would have just been like, well, it's a hamster. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
It's okay. We'll get him another one. Move on. I'll go back to the office. But having that ability, like, and then getting back into your business, and all the people that I had to reschedule or go on, like, supportive of him, you come in with more energy. I performed at a much higher level by doing that. And that's the freedom that I would love to see people get to. You get to, like, you want to go hiking, you go hiking. That's the freedom I want to see entrepreneurs get to, is you have the freedom to actually create your schedule, do what you want to do, move on, but not put yourself in harm's way.
Yeah, totally. 100%. It's like a kind of something similar. My dog recently passed, and she, like your son, she's here right now. I don't know if you can see her. Her box is right there. Her remains are there. I mean, she was here all the time. And so it was kind of one of those like sudden middle of the week sort of things. And it was just so cool to be able to, have that time to grieve prior to having to let her go, and then after. So it was like basically almost 2 weeks. I canceled all my calls. I was like, I'm sorry, I don't normally cancel calls, but I'm not going to show up to this one. I'm not going to show up to this one. We'll just reschedule. And every single person that I had to cancel with, like you, was like, absolutely. Oh my gosh. And it was like genuine, like, concern as a human being.
Yeah.
And in my corporate world, that never would have happened at all.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you have no time off. Use your PTO,
And it was such a shift for me too, because in the past, it wasn't like, I couldn't have done it with everything else, but I also I was too worried about what others would have thought. And there's been many things like that. I'm like, if they don't like it, I don't really care.
Right.
Because I know that you got negativity away from you. We're in a different alignment where we're here, but if you do, it's okay. And you don't make a pattern of it. I'm not constantly kicking people to the curb or changing. Like, it happens once in a while. It's out of the ordinary.
Right.
But that's the freedom that I'm looking at. I want others to have their version of that freedom.
I love that. Okay. So speaking of that, talk to me about, who's your ideal client? Like, if you could, like, if people are listening to this, they're watching this and they're like, I want to talk to Mike more. Would he work with me? Who are you looking for clients?
I love helping people that have something to build. They have something to do. They have a vision of where they want to go. They're tired of being just a little bit short. I look at it like this, familiar with, like, at 211 degrees, you have hot water. At 212 degrees, you have boiling water that creates steam that'll drive a locomotive through a brick wall. And I believe there's a ton of people that have a talent to be 212 degrees, but only get to 211 and they're getting burned out and worn out. And there's some that really were never meant to get to 212, but there's a lot of people in there that goes, if I just had someone in my corner, I had someone here that can go through and they have a purpose to get to 212, those are the people I'm looking for. I'm looking for people that are just tired of doing it the way they're doing it, but they have something they want to go do. They're looking to make an impact, but they don't feel like in the current way they can.
I love that. I love that. And then, of course, I'm going to give you another book. Have you read 212 Degrees?
Oh, yes, I have.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
Yeah, I read one of your books.
Yeah. He's like all ready to write it down.
It's a game changer.
But first of all, everyone should just get that book because it's like that big. It's like, it's tiny. And there's like 2 or 3 sentences on each page. And but it's like super powerful and super impactful. So it's a 212.
Get the book, grab a cup of coffee.
Yep.
And you'll have the book done and the coffee done.
At the same
time. About the same time. It's that quick, but you'll have major impact on it.
Yeah, such a good one. Yeah. Okay, Mike, this has been an awesome conversation. Where can people find more about you?
Just go to, I think our links are on the notes in the bottom below, but come check me out. If you're interested, you're just not happy where you currently are at, get on a free success call with me. I will do one of 2 things. I'll either help you or I'll point you in the right way to get the help you need. I'm not for everyone, but I will tell you that having a conversation, I will impact you and put you in the right path.
Yep. I love that. Yes, everyone, Mike's contact info is in the show notes below, so take a look at those. And if you could leave our audience with one final Mike word of wisdom, what would that be?
One final word of wisdom. Keep it simple. Stop trying to complicate things. Just keep it simple and just ask yourself every day, who am I going to impact today? Who can I get out there and serve? And then at the end of the day, who was it had an impact on? Who did I go serve? That it'll leave a lasting memory that they'll remember where they were. They'll remember my conversation. They'll remember me from that day. If you just do that every day, I guarantee you're going to have more business than you could dream of. Stop complicating it with funnels and this and leads from here. Just go out and go get into a relationship and impact people. They're around us everywhere we look.
I love that. As they say, complexity fails, simplicity scales. So love that.
There you go.
All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. And Mike, really appreciate you being here. We'll see you all on the next episode. If you've been chasing someone else's version of success, I hope this episode helped you. I hope it gave you permission to write your own story. Mike's reminder is powerful. Your vision only works if you do. So if you're feeling like you're stuck at 211 degrees, 1 degree away from a breakthrough, now is the time to make a change. Mike's links are below, so reach out and reflect. And more importantly, ask yourself, who am I here to impact today? Thank you so much for watching, and remember, you don't have to burn out to succeed. You deserve to live a burnout-proof life with a business that supports it. I'll see you on the next video.